Rick Joyner is a fundamentalist Christian, and he has a brilliant theory he'd like to share with us about the return of Jesus.
You know, you can add up the genealogies in Scripture and find that from the time of Adam until today, there's been about 6,000 years. There's one period in the Judges that's a little ambiguous, so you have to give or take 100 years, but we've been on earth since Adam about 6,000 years. Mm-hmm. And, that's 6 prophetic days. Peter said, the day with the Lord is 1,000 years.
Yes. Right.
And they really understood this. Mm-hmm. And some of those writings of the early church fathers, they would be clear about there will be 6,000 years until the end of this age. Jesus is the Lord of the Sabbath, which is the 7th prophetic day. He wasn't talking about being the Lord of one day of the week. He was talking about the millennial day, the millennial 1,000-year period in which Jesus will come to earth himself to rule. And so we are, according to the timelines given in Scripture, somewhere near the end of the 6th day. And if you look at the first 7 days of creation prophetically, you see parallels during each 1,000-year period of man's history that you could see a metaphor for that in the days of creation. It's an amazing thing. But what happened at the end of the 6th day? God created man in his image, and I believe it's going to be at the end of the 6th day. By the way, when they in the New Testament said, we're living in the last days, they were talking about the last days of the prophetic week.
Okay, so do you guys understand what he's saying there? He's saying, when you add up the genealogy of Scripture, whatever the fuck that means, the world is 6,000 years old. Of course, it's not 4.54 billion years old, as various scientific dating methods have proven. The universe is not 13.9 billion years old, again, as we've been able to figure out using math and having these high-powered telescopes and noticing that the universe is expanding. All that's irrelevant. 6,000 years old. And Jesus is coming back about now because, see, this is the 7th prophetic day, and each day in a prophetic sense is 1,000 years. So Jesus is on his way back, and we've been here for 6,000 years. This is so sad. It's so sad. I actually felt bad for that guy as he was talking. Now, I mean, if he was saying other things, I wouldn't feel bad for him. I'd be super angry at him because he's just like the other fundamentalist, super anti-gay, bigoted person, crazy person. But it's like, what a sad life. You're spending your life reading the tea leaves on something that's fucking Harry Potter. Like, it's Narnia. And actually, I feel like what I just said is too harsh on Harry Potter and Narnia because those are just perfectly lovely fictional stories that people know are fictional. It's like loving Pokemon. When I was a kid, that was all the rage, Pokemon. We all love Pokemon. Like, that was actually fun, and you knew it was fake. These guys believe it. They think it's real. And they're talking about in the Bible, when you count it up in the genealogy, 6,000 years, Jesus come back any day now. I see the signs. I see the signs. I see them. How sad are you? And it's like, they're so convinced they're right. There's zero evidence. I mean, they go to the Bible, which is full of scientific absurdities and contradictions. They're like, this is right. I know it's right. Hey, jackass, you don't think other people in all the other religions that exist are equally convinced of their voodoo? There's over 4,000 religions that exist on Earth right now. Oh, I'm sure you're just so special. You're so special that you happen to be born in the one that's correct. That's why it's funny when people say, hey, man, being an atheist, it's like, doesn't that require faith? Why would you not just default to believe just in case? Well, why are you an atheist when it comes to Muhammad and Allah and Islam? Why are you an atheist when it comes to, whatever other religions you want to invoke here? There's, again, 4,000 religions. So 3,999 of them, you're like, yeah, I'm an atheist for those religions, but mine, totally true, totally true. It's hilarious because you rarely see somebody born in like a Christian context who they have an epiphany when they're, 16. I found God. Like, oh, really? You found Jesus? No, I was reading about the Greek gods, and I think they're true. People go, what the fuck are you saying? That's obvious mythology. Oh, what, and our gods today are not mythology? Like, no, we nailed it, but everybody else, stupid primitive people, Greek gods, Roman gods, get the fuck out of here. Jungle gods of the Amazon, fuck off. But if you were born in the Amazon, you would be saying to everybody else, fuck off, my jungle gods are right. If you were born in ancient Greece, you'd be saying, other gods, piss off, we got the right gods. It's intellectually embarrassing to be a fundamentalist. Now, don't get me wrong. If you say, hey, I'm a religious person, and it's more of something just tied to your identity, or you say it like an ethnicity, like, yeah, I was born into a Buddhist family, I'm Buddhist, what do you mean? But you kind of acknowledge that, yeah, it's faith, it's not fact, and this is just the traditions that we practice, that's something totally different. But if you're a fundamentalist and you actually believe, you're embarrassing. Like, I don't think you realize how intelligent people view you. We view you like, ooh, man, that's sad. Like, that's really sad. And you don't, again, I know I'm making the same points over and over here, but I think of like there are Shia Islamists, for example, who are convinced that the Mahdi is coming. And they're so convinced of it and they believe it literally. If you go tell that to, an evangelical pastor in Mississippi, he'd be like, what? They're convinced, but we have the one true religion. No, the answer is you're both wrong. It's all mythology. It's all voodoo, and you bought into it. And the sad thing is we have the tools available today where if you care to look into it, you can learn very quickly how wrong it is. All you have to do is try to search for the contradictions in your holy book. You do know contradictions are self-defeating, right? It means you can't be right because you said both opposite things at the same time. So that makes no sense. So look for the contradictions in your holy book, and you'll quickly realize you'll lose your faith. You'll be like, oh, okay, so this says this here, this says that there, that can't make sense. The book has to be wrong. Or look for the scientific absurdities. And don't go into, I'm going to read the book trying to prove it's true. No. Go into it with an open mind, read the book, and go, oh, okay. Well, here, for example, in the Quran or the Hadith, it talks about semen coming from the backbone. It turns out that's just not true. So why would I believe this? So it's just pathetic across the board for all the fundamentalists. Yes, civilized modern people look at fundamentalists and they go, what are you doing? Like, it's weird what you're doing right now. We have these things, but you're choosing to cling to the thing that mommy and daddy taught you because you think you're so special and you guys nailed it. And I get it. The sunk cost fallacy is a real thing. Like, people spend years, like this guy Rick Joyner, years and years and years caring about this stuff. And then what? When you pop that bubble, it's like he's got nothing left. He's got to start from scratch. But view it as an opportunity. Don't be afraid. Embrace the world with open arms, and you'll realize that many of the weird misconceptions you had before are indeed misconceptions, and you have the opportunity to explore new paths moving forward.